Welcome to the TechMobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, when violence happens at the dealership, mourning the loss of consumer protection, and walking through the EV maker graveyard. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or suggest a topic for future discussion, call or text the TechMobility hotline. That number, 872-222-9793. Or you could email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. Also, please be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on social media, our YouTube channel, and our two podcasts, the TechMobility Podcast and TechMobility Topics. From the TechMobility News Desk, this first article, this first conversation, comes to me by way of one of our affiliates, one of our listeners that listen to us at KXEL up in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, sent this to our program director, Jeff Stein, who kindly forwarded it to me. And I want to talk about this just briefly. The headline is, Dubuque City Council approves charging rate increases for electric vehicles. Now, I want to put this into perspective for you. First of all, let me read what they did, and then let me coach this in perspective. The Dubuque City Council is raising fees for electric vehicle charging stations in public parking areas by almost 50%. The new fee will increase from 17 cents per kilowatt hour to 25 cents per kilowatt hour. City leaders cite the need for an increase to cover state taxes and fees, as well as an uptick in people using the stations. Since July 2023 to December 2024, city leaders say they've seen a 128% increase in usage at public charging stations. The city also approved a $2 per hour overstay fee for vehicles that have been charged at least 85%. And these charges were set to go into effect. They should have went into effect on January 27th. Now, that sounds big, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, 128%. Let me give you some perspective. First of all, Dubuque, Iowa, in Dubuque County is the 11th largest city in the Hawkeye State. They have a population of 58,877. That's as of 2023. All right. How many EVs could it possibly be? Well, according to figures, through June of 2023, across all of Iowa's 99 counties registered, there is 12,800 EVs statewide registered in the state of Iowa. That compares to 3.7 million vehicles registered in the state of Iowa. Now, to be fair, that includes semis, mopeds, and some other things, but basically it's minuscule. So I can't imagine in Dubuque County, in the city of Dubuque, on the Mississippi River, next to U.S. Route, trying to remember, I think it's 61, going into Wisconsin, that the volume that they see can't be local because there's not enough. Now, there are EVs in every Iowa county. Now, in some cases, it may only be one, but there are EVs, and I can't and was not able to determine how many EVs are in the city of Dubuque or Dubuque County. But again, let me give you some perspective. What you're looking is per kilowatt hour. Every EV has a battery pack of a certain size. Think of it as like a gas tank, and think of kilowatt hours as gallons of gasoline for comparison. The average vehicle, and I'm not talking about big pickup trucks or anything like that, or like the Hummer EV or the Ford Lightning. I'm talking about probably the average SUV, probably small to mid-sized EV cars and SUVs. You're looking at a battery pack of probably between 50 and probably 75 kilowatt hours. So if you're looking at 25 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's assuming that it's completely dead, which usually it's not, because automakers talk about their charging times from 10% to 80%. Typically, you want to get there before it gets dead. So you're going to have anywhere from 10 to maybe 15% charge left. So you're not charging the whole battery, actually. So it's not that expensive. If you're looking at 25 cents a kilowatt hour on 100, if it was a big battery pack, which 100 kilowatt hour would be a big battery pack, you're looking at $25 for a big one to recharge it at the higher rate. And these are probably 2/3 to 3/4 that size. So you're looking at maybe $15, $17. By comparison, depending on how efficient the EV motor is and how many miles per kilowatt hour it can get, how well it uses energy, you look at, typically you're looking at probably 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Little over 3, anywhere from 3.2 to 3.5. Some vehicles are way better, like Lucid Air, at over 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and some are not as efficient, like the Ford Lightning and other heavy pickup trucks that are EVs that tend to get 1.8 to 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. But let's settle on 3, just as a rough basis. And we'll settle on a 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. So you're looking at what? Little over, if it's doing 3 and it's 75, you're looking at a little over 200 miles of range for roughly $25. Okay. If you look at an internal combustion car, same size, probably a gas tank of maybe 13 to 15 gallons, gas now is pretty close to $3 a gallon. So to get the same mileage, roughly, out of that, and we're going to say it gets 20 miles a gallon, we're going to average. You're looking at 10 gallons. The cost of gasoline in that example is actually more. It's actually almost $10 more. So think about that. But my big question is, now, the city of Dubuque says they've seen a 128% increase in usage at public charging stations. What this article does not tell you, and I do not know, or whether these are level 2 chargers or level 3 chargers. And why does that make a difference? Because the level 2 chargers take a lot longer. Your high voltage chargers start at 150 kilowatts and go up from there and are considered fast chargers. And what that means is new EVs today usually can charge from 10% of charge to 80% of charge in as little as 15 minutes to no more than a half an hour. It's usually that remaining 20% that takes 45 minutes to do, and that's by design. That is a battery management system. That's by design, not to burn up the battery or overcharge the battery. So you can get the majority of your charge now inside of half an hour if, in fact, it's a level 3 charger. This does not say. A lot of the chargers that you have seen, what I would call first generation public chargers, are level 2. They're not fast. You plug it in, you walk away, you're looking at hours to charge. I do not know which ones these are, but they are charging the amount of electricity they actually use, not the amount of time they're sitting at the charger. So if it's a fast charger, theoretically, you're looking at 45 minutes to an hour if you're going to go all the way to 100. And they want to charge $2 an hour. And honestly, $2 an hour is not going to defer me from coming to fetch my car. And if they said $10 to $15 an hour or maybe $20 an hour overstay fee once it's 85%, then yeah, I'm motivated to come get it. But at $2 an hour, yeah, if I get around to it, I get around to it. And if it's an extra $3 or $4, okay, no big deal. So I don't know how they thought their overstay fee was going to really do it. But this is not ridiculous. I've actually paid more per kilowatt hour in my trip over a year ago that I chronicled on this program a year ago, January, my trip to Chicago, and using the change point chargers and paying the ridiculous amount of money that I paid per kilowatt hour, which was way more than 25 cents, let me tell you. I'd love to have paid 25 cents a kilowatt hour. So I wanted to share this. City is getting to, and I also don't know how many chargers the city of Dubuque has in their public parking areas. So I don't know if this is a big deal or not. A listener did forward it. I wanted to cover it. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to give you some perspective that they're a little early and it shouldn't make that much of a difference, but cities are dealing with it now. even smaller cities. It's not major metropolitan area, 11th largest city in the state of Iowa. And they've already increased fees for EVs. Question is, what kind of infrastructure do they have? When things turn violent at the auto dealership, it happens more than you think. You are listening to the TechMobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the TechMobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the TechMobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the TechMobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the TechMobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
With its 11-speaker spatial imaging sound system and sumptuous leather interior, the Chrysler LHS puts you in the lap of luxury. And if that's not enough, its 3.5-liter 214-horsepower engine invites you to try a few other laps as well. Chrysler LHS, the North American luxury car redefined.
The year was 1994. Chrysler had just introduced their cab-forward large sedans called the LH cars, which was the Chrysler LHS, the Chrysler New Yorker, the Chrysler Concorde, the Dodge Intrepid, and for a minute, the Eagle Vision. All of these vehicles were cab-forward. They were sleek, they were large, they were powerful, they were comfortable, they looked good, they drove well, and they were amazing cars. As you heard, I would argue probably the last set of cars that would be defined as opulent before the new Chrysler 300 debuted in 2005, which recently was discontinued. For those people who may not remember, Chrysler, that brand was a luxury brand, a domestic luxury brand. Most of you probably know Chrysler mainly for the minivan. And still fewer of you, if you're young enough, only remember the Chrysler Pacifica, which has been out now about 13, 14 years. Relatively unchanged, by the way. It was a great time for Chrysler. They were on the ups. Things were going well for them. And these cars looked good. You wanted one of these in your driveway. The only issue I've got, though, ironically enough, I've noticed that over the years, some cars last and some cars don't. And it's been almost 30 years since these cars came out. But I don't remember seeing any of them still on the road. Any of them, which is odd. And I don't know what killed them off. Because I've seen other cars 20, 25, 30 years still on the road. I've seen Toyota Corollas and Toyota Camrys that are over 30 years old and looking awesome still driving as daily drivers. The more you know. New car dealerships receive a steady stream of customers and potential customers every day. While most interactions are uneventful, a small few make choices with outsized and sometimes deadly consequences. This is topic A. What am I talking about? Other than buying a home, for many people, the second largest purchase they make, if they're not going to college, is a car or a truck. With the average transaction price for a new vehicle hovering between $47,000 and $50,000, it's a big deal. Needless to say, people coming in to try to make a deal, as opposed to the dealership trying to make a profit, there's usually a lot of opportunity for disagreement, particularly when you're talking trade-ins, financing, a million different things. But what do you do when a customer or a potential customer decides to get violent? While I'm directing this at automobile dealerships, really in today's environment, it could apply to any business that deals with the public on a retail level, where the public is coming through the door. That's a grocery store, that's Walmart, that's a furniture store, that's a clothing store, not necessarily just a dealership. But let me give you an example of what has happened recently at dealerships across the United States. This past December, a man drove a used Subaru Outback he bought from a dealership in Utah through the dealership's front door after he demanded a refund. Obviously, he was charged with a felony criminal mischief and reckless endangerment. But that's not all. There's more. Also, in December, a woman who took a test drive of a Cadillac Escalade at a dealership in North Carolina was charged with assaulting an employee with a knife. The employee sustained shallow wounds to the hands and face, according to a local TV station. So what's going on? From robberies and even carjackings at the dealership during test drives to brutal arguments between employees and customers or coworkers, acts of violence at dealerships do happen. Shootings at dealerships have seriously injured employees and customers and have cost some of them their lives. Shootings at a dealership. This automotive news piece, ironically, chronicles one of our local dealers here in Des Moines. And that was kind of an added benefit. So let me talk about it in a minute. Willis Automotive in Clive, a suburb of this great city of Des Moines, invited 2 police officers to the company's monthly leadership meeting this past October to train senior employees on workplace violence. As I said before, this is where we're at now. The dealer's goal was to establish leaders throughout the company who could react to violent events appropriately and take charge. And they're talking about their 4 locations selling 8 new vehicle brands and a used vehicle store. And I mentioned how many people work for them. Let me give you some more examples of violence at dealerships. It can take many forms, and sometimes it results from arguments. 3 years ago, in the summer, an employee at a Hyundai dealer in Ohio shot a customer in the parking lot, followed an alleged argument. Same year, 2 fellas that worked for a dealership, one shot and killed the other one. After a week-long feud turned violent, they started fighting outside one of the dealership's service bays. One retreated, got a gun. March of last year, a dealership employee and a man got into a confrontation in an Alabama dealership. The man died and the employee was injured after both pulled out guns and shot each other in the parking lot. Can you imagine being in the middle of this? Excuse me. Can you imagine going in to buy a vehicle, doing all your paperwork, and all of a sudden there's a commotion? Or let me even make this simple because, okay, maybe you're not in the market for a car. Maybe this does not even impact you. But if you walk into a grocery store, if you walk into a retail store of any kind, this risk exists. Unfortunately, most stores don't train their employees on what to do should an active shooter be on the premises, either for helping the customers or saving themselves. And I'm talking about some of the major grocery store chains in the state of Iowa. There's no protection for you. You need to be aware. It is not unreasonable anymore to expect somebody with a beef, for what real or imagined, to walk into a public place and open fire. It's unfortunate we even have to have these conversations, but these dealerships are going through the steps of what to do, how to do it, thinking through to keep their employees safe, to keep their customers safe. And it's unfortunate that even in places where you do not think this is a thing, and Des Moines, Iowa is not a place where you would think they'd have to worry about that. But here's one of the largest dealerships in the state thinking about this and making plans. It is the sad state of affairs, my friends, that we even have to have this conversation. But you need to be aware, and you need to ask questions, and you need to know what's going on around you, because we're there. And hopefully you'll never be in a situation like that. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has returned over $21 billion to consumers since its founding. The administration has shut it down. This is the TechMobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the TechMobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the TechMobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the TechMobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. Federal Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It was created in the aftermath of the financial crisis during the early part of this century to protect consumers from unscrupulous behavior by financial institutions. This doesn't only include banks, but payday lenders and buy here, pay here car lots, to name a few. With little fanfare, the Bureau has been shut down and its website's been taken offline. What does this mean for you? This is topic B. If you're buying a home, if you're renting an apartment, then the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is looking out for you. They're what the founders called the cop on the beat, to help enforce the laws on the books and to make sure everybody plays by the rules. In order to keep it independent, when Congress created this agency, it doesn't get its budget from Congress. It actually gets its operational money from the Federal Reserve. That's by law. And they did it that way so it could stay independent and not subject to being political or subject to being swayed depending on what's going on. However, it's been shut down. $21 billion is the number. $21 billion since it was founded. It has returned to hundreds of thousands of American consumers from all sorts of unscrupulous things. This is happening right now as consumers face mounting challenges finding housing they can afford, with home prices at record highs, mortgage rates around 7%, rent prices remaining high after going up during the pandemic, and on top of all of that, the rising cost of home insurance premiums due to severe weather made worse by climate change is weighing on buyers, owners, and renters. Without a federal agency keeping tabs on the mortgage and rental housing industries, consumers could see an increase in predatory business practices and, God forbid, even scams. I said hundreds of thousands of people. I was wrong. I'm sorry. 200 million people. Split that $21 billion. People harmed by credit bureaus, big banks, debt collectors, and predatory lenders. If not the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, then who? So you're wondering, okay, they had regulation before the creation of this. Well, let me help you with something. The agency was originally created under the 2010 Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Up till then, there were 7 different agencies, seven, that regulated the mortgage market. The Federal Reserve, the FDIC, the Federal Trade Commission, the National Credit Union Administration, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the former Office of Thrift Supervision, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Let me explain this to you. If everybody's responsible, nobody's responsible. There's a whole lot of room for stuff to fall through the cracks there and a whole lot of finger pointing, which was going on. By bringing this all to a point through this bureau and financing it and funding it the way that Congress intended, was designed to protect us little people, the working class, those of us that do the living and dying and buying and selling in this town, to take from a movie that I liked called It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, us. It was built to protect us. Protect us from people who could scam us with little recourse, because who's got money for a lawyer? And a lawyer wants money up front. Very few lawyers take cases on contingency. They want real money. And if you've already been scammed or otherwise defrauded out the little money that you had to have a roof over your head some kind of way, where are you going to get the other money? To hire a lawyer and go after him, which could take years, by the way. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was designed to put a point on that oversight. For example, you might remember this. 3 years ago, the Bureau ordered Wells Fargo to pay $3.7 billion after the bank allegedly mismanaged customers' loans over several years. In some cases, the bank improperly denied homeowners' requests for mortgage modifications, resulting in thousands of people losing their homes to wrongful disclosures. Full disclosure here, because I need to tell you this. My brother, a military veteran, was one of those people that got wronged by Wells Fargo back then. Lost his house. Beautiful house, too. The bank was aware of the problem for years before it ultimately addressed the issue. Even renters have been protected under this agency. The agency is charged with monitoring the rental process, including application fees, tenant screenings, and debt collection activities. Among other actions focused on renters, the agency has raised alarms about inaccurate background checks that result in people being unable to rent apartments. In November 2022, the agency issued reports describing how tenant background checks were sometimes filled with largely unvalidated information. And what recourse do you have? They run a report. It's wrong. You get denied. They don't tell you that the information they pulled was negative but was inaccurate. They didn't know that. They didn't verify it. And you didn't know. The CFPB also highlighted how some tenant screening companies were using an algorithm to assess a prospective renter's risk level. In one study, the agency cast doubt on the effectiveness of such background reports in predicting how renters would behave. I reported here a few weeks ago how AI, when it came to medical benefits and the denial in those systems, was more designed to save money than make benefits available to the people who deserve them. And as a result, low income and disadvantaged people were getting denied at a higher rate with little recourse because of these algorithms, which were skewed against them from the get. That's the problem. It's not like you feed things into a computer and it takes away all the bias. In fact, this is a fact, the algorithms can actually amplify the bias that humans put into the process. Meaning they become more magnified, not less, with machines sometimes making racist decisions. The agency also tried to address junk fees in rental housing. And oh my God, if you've ever rented an apartment, you get about fees from rental payment processing services, which was added to their rent as a required fee, and a whole bunch of other expenses, and you don't get a chance to debate, discuss, or otherwise question these fees. You're stuck. Don't pay them. It's as if you didn't pay the rent, and you get charged accordingly. Who's looking over these people to make sure all of this technology treats people fairly? It is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which, by the way, just got shut down by the administration, and they're looking to abolish it completely. That puts the little guy back under the thumb of people who might take advantage of people who can't protect themselves. And after all, isn't part of government supposed to take care of the people who need the help and don't have a voice and aren't able to defend themselves? Question, because I wanted to share this with you for sure. 2 more EV manufacturers have gone broke, but only one may live to see another day. We are the TechMobility Show. To learn more about the TechMobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the TechMobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that TechMobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the TechMobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the TechMobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the TechMobility Show in the search bar. I want to apologize for the kind of frog in my throat, clearing my throat here. Not sure what's going on. I don't have a cold or anything, so if I sound a little scraggly and a little rough and clearing my throat, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just wanted to apologize because usually I'm in better voice than this. Over the course of this program, I have said many times that vehicle manufacturing is not for the faint of heart or light of pocket. Years of upfront investment, and I'm talking billions of dollars. The build out of a dealer network, parts network, marketing department, engineering, and being able to build and launch a brand new manufacturing facility, not to mention managing what could be hundreds, if not thousands of suppliers, is often a daunting task, even for the established traditional companies that have been in business for many years. 2 more EV manufacturers have gone broke, and maybe, just maybe, one may live to see another day. This is Topic C. The 2 companies I'm talking about, maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. One is called Canoo, that's Canoo. The other one is called Nikola. Difference. Canoo has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Nikola has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. For those of you that are not well versed in bankruptcy law when it comes to corporations, let me clue you in. The difference between the two, and then we'll get into this a little more. You hear a lot of companies talking about filing Chapter 11. Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code allows protection from the court for the company to operate as it restructures. It gives them immense power under protection of the court. They can break leases. They can break union contracts. They can change stuff unilaterally when they're in bankruptcy court. Now, they do have to get permission from the judge to do a lot of this. And they have to negotiate very often with a committee of creditors, which the court will oversee, to negotiate a better settlement. Companies go into Chapter 11 either to get their debt restructured because they couldn't do it outside of it, or to get the company in better shape. They use it to get the company downsized because for some reason their revenue is below their expenses, or their debt is ridiculous and their debt service is killing them and they can't operate the business. But in Chapter 11, the goal is in Chapter 11 that the company will get down to fighting trim and come out whole. Smaller, restructured, maybe owned a little bit differently, but whole. Let's talk about Chapter 7. You don't hear about Chapter 7 bankruptcy as often. Chapter 7 is what I would call, and these are both corporate business chapters. There's others for personal bankruptcy. I think it's Chapter 13. We're not talking about that. We're talking about business bankruptcies under the law of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. Chapter 7 under the Bankruptcy Code. You hear a lot less often, and this is where Canoo is. I want to point out one major thing. We've talked about EV companies on this program that have yet to build a product that go belly up and broke. Both Nikola and Canoo have built and delivered product to customers. In Canoo's case, Walmart, NASA, and some others bought their EVs. Canoo's Chapter 7 filing means not only could we not get the financing, we don't see any other way out. We're done. We're through. We're selling everything. We're closed. It's over. There is no more company. Going into Chapter 11, we're selling everything. We're liquidating assets. The company is dead. What that means, if you are an investor in a company like that, you just lost everything. That's the challenge of having common stock. Common stock means, you're the first one to lose equity. You're the first one that's going to lose in a bankruptcy. Under Chapter 11, you have some choices and some wiggle room, not much. Chapter 7, you have none. Canoo never made a profit. To give you an idea, the money, the sales they had in 2023 was $1.5 million. They bought a plane for the CEO that year. The plane cost $1.7 million. The plane cost more than the money they made all year. The last year they were in business, this past year, they lost $165 million. They were trying to get financing. They even went overseas, could not get it. And I can understand why, because the first question an investor is going to ask is, you're losing all this money. Before I give you a dime, show me a way to profitability. Show me a way that you are going to grow these assets so I can expect a return on my money. Or if I lend it to you, which I can't see lending it to you if you're losing $165 million, a way for me to get paid. Yeah, no. Under Chapter 11, you have something called debtor in possession financing. And what that is, it's a special sort of financing that allows a company getting reorganized to have money to do what they need to do, but it also makes these folks who lend that money, puts them at the top of the food chain. They get their money first before anybody gets theirs. Nikola is selling pieces of the company and a restructuring. When they come out of it, they're expecting to sell the company, but the company will go on in some form afterwards. The one thing that I miss that never came to light about Nikola, that would have been an amazing vehicle if they had stuck to their guns and pulled it off. They had developed something called the Nikola Badger pickup, and it was a dual power pickup. It was an EV, but it was both a fuel cell and a battery EV together with incredible range. The thing had range of 600 miles. Now, this was back about 4 years ago when it developed it. Challenge is, technology's changed since then, but I can only imagine if that thing had evolved, it probably had pretty close to 1,000 miles of range if they could have brought it to market. Nikola, which had concentrated on their Class 8 trucks, the Class 8 EV trucks, and they actually delivered about 600 of them, but it still wasn't enough. They're selling part of it. The company that stepped up to buy some of their assets before they filed for bankruptcy was Mullen Automotive. And if you're really paying close attention in this program, you might remember Mullen Automotive has done this before. They came to another company we talked about called Bollinger Motors, actually bought a controlling stake in Bollinger to help Bollinger bring out their medium-duty EV strip chassis in Class 5, Class 6. And they're going to market. I wonder, they're not sure who would step up for Nikola. I'd say it's probably Mullen, because Mullen's already in it, and I think that they may end up getting the company. So Nikola may not be dead as far as the name is concerned. As the man says, watch this space, but as far as Canoo, it's over. I wonder how NASA's going to get parts to keep their little canoes going, the little people transportation items, now that the company doesn't exist. As it to Fisker Ocean, if you own a Fisker Ocean, you're in the same boat. A vehicle that outlived the company that built it. It's part of the challenge in this brave new world of EVs. We've come to the end of this visit. Be sure to join me again next time right here. This has been the TechMobility Show.
The TechMobility Show is a copywritten production of TechMobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of TechMobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the TechMobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the TechMobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the TechMobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the TechMobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the TechMobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the TechMobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.